community is like an old house. There's always something that needs work. For my old house, it was a leaky roof, dry rot in the patio, and one gate that I never could get to line up right. For Biloxi, on top of the normal things that need work, they were first hit with Katrina, and now it's the oil spill. As with any community, there's a mosaic of organizations that keep things working. We've talked with a few thus far, and there's time to talk with one more, Hope CDA. They were the spark behind the Phenomenal People Katrina Recovery Celebration. Over 9 days, they had 8 different events involving more than 100 different groups and individuals that pitched in to help. Think about that for a moment. Without a big staff or any money to spend, how big a job was that? These are the people that are unafraid of the really big challenges. I had a chance to talk with the executive director of Hope CDA, Bill Stallworth.
Hope CDA was formed immediately after Katrina in order to provide some assistance in coordinating the rebuilding of the area. East Biloxi is an area of the Peninsula of Biloxi, or the eastern portion of the city, that has 90% of the African American population, 9% of the Asian population, 9% of the Hispanic population, and 9% of the city's poorest population all reside here. And however, this was the area that received the worst of the Hurricane Katrina. The area was totally covered in water. We lost half of the housing stock the day of the storm. Some 3,000 structures were destroyed the day of the storm, and roughly about another 3,700 were damaged completely as a result of the storm. So we've been putting back this area bit by bit. We started out here in East Biloxi. Now we're servicing the entire 3 counties along the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. We have been able to rehab about 760 units, build another 75 new units, gutted out well over 3,000 units. But when you look at the scope of the damage, it is still a very small percentage. In terms of the new homes, for instance, the 75 homes that we built, all around the area, I think there have probably been a whole another 75 homes built in the area. When you look at 3,000 that were destroyed, you can kind of see how that scale looks. Over 825 homes in a 5-year period is a really great job. It's just the scope of this problem is so huge that in comparison, it doesn't seem like a lot. Shortly after the formation of the center, we were blessed with a grant that came from Oprah's Angel Network. That was a $3 million grant to try and help us get a handle around how to rebuild the homes that need to be built here. FEMA came in and insisted on the homes being elevated to an ungodly height, anywhere from 6 to 12 feet in the air. We didn't know how to rebuild and still keep those homes affordable. Oprah provided us with some monies, funding to do a loan fund to help with rehab, but more importantly, monies to have architects come in, take a look at new ideas about how to build, new building techniques, materials, etc. From that, we were able to do a nationwide competition. It was headed up by a group out of California called Architecture for Humanity. They brought in literally, teams of architects from across the nation. They developed models, and we wound up with about 26 to 30 models. And out of that, a select group of residents were picked, and they were able to pick the homes that they wanted to do, wanted to live in. And this was going to be a gift to them. So altogether, we wound up with about 7 homes, but it gave us the foundation for learning to build these homes more cost effectively, how to make them greener, how to make them more livable. We looked at everything from how to build a home for future use. For instance, we built a house for a couple. They were elderly. We built it in such a way that as they aged, they would be able to look at utilizing a portion of the house for income, for rental. We built another home for a Vietnamese family that was a blended house. We have blended families, two or three generational families that live in the same house. This house was built in such a way that the grandparents would live in the front portion of the house, and they had a full suite, master bath, master bedroom, the closets they need to have, but the rest of the family would live in the other portion, and there was a second master bedroom. so that the family could be there. And there was a great common area, large porches. Everything that we build here has porches. That's to keep the neighborhood together, keep a sense of community, keeping in touch with what's already here versus the new stuff that we built. These were great models to look at all of the various family situations that one might find in a lower income area, area that had been devastated, and now how do we put this back together so that we hit as many families as possible. One of the things that was done when I set this up was I wanted to do more than be a recovery agency. We want to become kind of what we're growing into be now, a community development agency. The reason that the community development agencies are so fascinating to me is that it allows you the flexibility to come in and take a look at a community's problems from a more holistic standpoint. Instead of just building houses, let's look at building community and lives. One of the philosophies I have is very simple. You fix the people fix their own problems. If you could find a way to empower people to fix their lives, to empower them to make decisions for themselves, empower them to have the tools to do any number of activities, whether it's advocating for themselves, whether or not it's just working as a team or a group, then they can solve their own problems. They can find the resources, they can advocate for the resources, bring them in, and do things that affect the lives. I tell people this little story. I said, basically, if you're starving to death, I'm gonna bring you a fish. As soon as you get your strength up, I'm gonna take you down to the creek, bring a rod and a reel and show you how to dig for bait, show you how to bait it, and then let you fish. If you don't catch anything that day, I'll feed you another fish. But as soon as you catch that first one, it's on you. And that's the philosophy that we have. I'm new to the nonprofit world. And one of the things that has always concerned me is a feeling of trying to do something for people, trying to help people. And nonprofits are some of the greatest things in the world. They are people with caring hearts. They really want to do what's best for the people that they serve. My concern is that very often we're so busy helping that we don't really give them the tools that they need to have to help themselves. We have got to get to a point that we learn this fine art of empowering people to help themselves. You can't do it all by yourself. There's not enough money, there are not enough nonprofits to do that. But the more we recruit, the better. J.P. Morgan had a saying that I found at the beginning of this whole journey, that I was reading a book and it just had a little quote in there, but it just stuck with me. It said, I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's effort than 100% of my own. That was so profound, because that's the way I look at a community. The more we can get people in the community to work together and get a little of their efforts, the more impact we will have in helping solve these complicated problems that have been bugging us for eons. Katrina was a devastating hurricane, and you can imagine it's sort of like the old picture of a prize fighter who's really been kind of beat down. He finally gets back up, he starts his counter punching, and some other guy comes from behind and knocks him down. That's kind of what the oil spill did for this community. We took on Katrina. We were beating Katrina. We were really overcoming Katrina. Then the oil spill came along. This is another obstacle that we must overcome. To say people are tired is an understatement. People are almost exhausted. But one thing I love about this area is that people have true grit, tenacity that just says, I'll be doggone if this is going to beat me. Okay, you coming at me, come on with the best that you have. I'm still not going to let you beat me. And as long as we can have that, as long as we can keep that sense of community in place, we can overcome the oil spill. We're going to overcome Katrina. But at the end of the day, it's going to take a lot more than most people thought that they had inside of them.